Howdy, fellow bodies. Welcome to Dise and Bodily's Voice, an audiobooks podcast. Today, we are reading part 2 of Story's End, written by me, your host. Disclaimer: this story is not suitable for younger audiences. There's violence, gore, and strong adult language. If you are sensitive to these things, I'd recommend skipping to another story. Enjoy. It looks about the way the pictures in the pamphlet portrayed, though the landscaping was severely lacking. The building held a domineering and looming air to it that made me feel small. Something about the rapt stillness of the grounds made me think I ought to just stay on the bus and have it take me home. I anxiously looked at the windows of the institution, hoping to catch a glimpse of movement or light. A row of windows on both the left and right wings flickered yellow a moment, then maintained the glow. I breathed a sigh. Whew. I'm just being paranoid. Just give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can leave any time. After calming my nerves, I looked around at everyone else. There was a tense feeling on the bus, like someone was pulling on a bungee cord and waiting for it to snap. The older people I saw on the bus earlier started to get up and hastily grabbed their bags from the overhead, making a mad dash through the narrow alley of the bus to the door. "You have to let us out. Don't you understand where this is?" a heavy-set man who looked to be in his late 40s squealed, his face getting red. The driver looked up at him past the brim of his hat and opened the door with a half-hearted push of the blue button on the dash. The moment the door's accordion opened, around 5 people practically tumbled out of the bus and ran down the road we had just come down hours ago. "Anybody else want to leave?" the driver said wearily, looking over his shoulder with sharp blue eyes that betrayed his fatigue. We all looked at our seat partners, and those across the aisle from us. I met a girl with neon blue hair's gaze. I felt that we mutually searched the other for signs it was time to bounce. I found nothing but a cool confidence, and I tried my best to project the same. I turned my head to look down at my hand, which Tulsa grasped and squoze firmly. Her eyes were locked on the building before us that was slowly lighting up. Her lips were a hard line. She looked like she was chewing her lip. I opened my mouth to ask if she was okay, but closed it again without saying anything. I got a peculiar feeling in my stomach from the sensation of her hand in mine. Her hand was dreadfully cold. "We Gucci," a dark-haired boy called at the driver, smirking a little at the chuckles that sounded around the bus. The driver rolled his eyes and laughed as he closed the door again, then reclined back into his seat. There was a burning question in my mind, and I dared not to voice it. If we really are Gucci, then why did those folks run like hunted deer? So we all sat in that intense silence, taking in any detail illuminated by the rising sun. I rubbed Tulsa's hand absently with the side of my thumb. "Don't you understand where this is?" the deserters had said. I pulled out my phone again, Google searching the address. Buffalo State Asylum for the Insane. I shifted my seat a little, which draws Tulsa's attention from the window and to me. She hadn't let go of my hand yet, and I was certain I didn't want her to. In all honesty, I was feeling scared, and the physical touch was grounding. I'm not superstitious, and I don't believe in ghosts, but I have seen enough horror movies take place in old insane asylums to know that if, and that's a big fucking fat if, ghosts were real, they would have every justification to haunt a place like this. I found an article listed from 1881 called Buffalo State Asylum Abuses. I tried to click on it, but a small pop-up notification appeared. It read, "We're sorry. This site is not accessible in your region. Try again." I sensed Tulsa was reading my screen over my shoulder, which I tried to refresh and click the link again, but the same pop-up appeared. Tulsa let go of my hand to pull her own phone out. I leaned over and watched her try to click the same link as I had before. The same result. "What the fuck?" Tulsa whispered. Just then, the black-painted iron gates squealed open. I could hear it even from inside the bus, which started to inch toward the gates with a hiss of brakes. "Ooh, I have a bad feeling. Are you getting that too?" I murmur, tucking my phone into my back pocket. Yeah, I am," Tulsa confirmed. We gathered up our travel blankets and prepared to unbuckle our seatbelts. I watched as the building loomed closer and closer. It felt even more enormous when you were behind the gate, which was guarded by trees. Now that we were right in front of the center building, with the two copper-roofed towers, it was intimidating how tiny we are compared to the enormity of the entire building. The sandstone red brick interior extended out to both sides, with the center building forming the zenith of the somewhat arrow-shaped campus. The moment he parks, I'm out of my seat. Tulsa follows suit, clutching her blanket and travel pillow tightly to her chest. I'm dying to get out of this stuffy bus. I want fresh air, I want light, and I want out. We eagerly pull out our light luggage from the racks overhead. I'm glad we're finally here. The grounds look awesome. We can study outside and everything, I say hopefully, as I step off the last step of the bus and onto the once neatly paved sidewalk in front of the wide steps. Tulsa is close behind, agreeing in her wonderful, mellow voice. "I'm a little freaked, but we're gonna be fine," Tulsa said, standing on the sidewalk next to me. I feel like she's trying to soothe me. Can she tell I'm anxious? I should be comforting her. I'm older. I should be the one to console. She pulls out her phone again to text her family. I start to do the same, when a guy wearing a white Ghostbusters t-shirt near me turns to somebody next to him and whispered, "This used to be an insane asylum. It's totally haunted." I roll my eyes, though I look up from my phone at the building again, and a chill races up my spine. Maybe it is, I think, jumping nearly a foot in the air when the big brown doors thundered open. I hadn't even finished drafting, "Here safe. Heart you guys." I turn off my phone and put it back in my pocket, and look at the doors atop the steps. At the top stood a lean young man cradling a clipboard in one hand. He wore a gray t-shirt with the school logo on it and a similarly gray ball cap atop his lusciously curly hair. His eyes looked tired and hollow until he took a deep breath and a smile spread artificially across his face. He was attractive and seemed to exude intelligence. Intelligence one gains from a blend of street smarts and a healthy dose of history textbooks. The man looks down at us and waves. "Welcome," he bellows loudly, making me flinch with the suddenness of his speaking, "to Steele Institution. My name is Lionel, but everyone just calls me Winsley." He stepped onto the first step with a wide gesture to the grounds. "After 2 days of—" he trailed off, glancing upwards and to his left. I follow his glance and spot a blonde woman and a very tall man with broad shoulders watching from a balcony. The blonde girl seemed to be looking at me. I furrowed my brow and returned the look, not listening to the rest of Winsley's very practiced and polished speech. The woman and the man seemed to fade into the architecture behind them, blending into the shadows as though they hadn't even been there at all. I couldn't exactly decide if I was scared or not. Maybe they were students. I'd never seen a ghost before, but they were supposed to be sort of transparent, weren't they? I look over my shoulder as the guy in the Ghostbuster shirt clears his throat. I close my eyes and roll them behind the security of my eyelids and hope he doesn't say anything that will embarrass himself, or the rest of us. So, this place was an asylum. Is it really haunted, or what? His round, spectacled face gleamed with mischief as he watches Winsley expectantly. He clearly felt like he had created a gotcha moment. Winsley shivered and shifted nervously on his feet, avoiding looking at us. It wasn't until now that I realized that the bus had already left. I know it's haunted. I see ghosts all the time. I heard the guy behind me quietly hiss, "Yes!" It was an asylum, the Buffalo State Hospital for the Insane. This particular building is 150 years old. We bought it from the state and converted it to our beloved institution. Please be aware that Shut up, Weekly. They don't need to know all that. Someone behind him barked. Winsley sagged and stepped to the side, glaring at the man I had seen on the balcony earlier, who stepped over the threshold with a long, confident stride. I even felt the chill from the glare, even though it wasn't directed at me. Poor Winsley's face turned red, and he seemed to look smaller, squeezing his shoulders up to his ears. He gave the big man a wide berth, and then dropped his shoulders again, but I could see his knuckles turning white while he gripped his clipboard and clutched it to his chest like armor. The big man cleared his throat. He beamed at us, not in a warm, friendly way, but in the way a rabid chimpanzee smiles before they start screaming and tearing your arms off. His canines were quite long, and his teeth were perfectly straight and white. I reflexively ran my tongue over my crooked bottom teeth. People with perfect teeth made me feel a little self-conscious. "Winsley, why don't you introduce the best athlete to the noobs?" the man crooned. His big, veiny hands clutched a well-worn and blindingly shiny belt buckle. The light reflecting off of it drew my attention away from his impossibly thick neck, adorned with a puka shell necklace, and his hair with bleached tips. I heard Tulsa whistle inwardly and murmur, "Hot damn," to my left. I smirk. At least I know what her priorities are. Winsley returned his attention to us again, though his eyes were fixed on his feet. "Everyone, this is Charlie, our star athlete." Charlie smirks and steps to the side, gesturing to the door with his hand and giving a mock bow. "Come inside. We'll take you to your rooms." We huddle together like a flock of sheep, gawking and whispering as we enter the hall. Above us is a chandelier. Golden light streams from the ceiling, illuminating the administration desk warmly. The ceiling is high and a classy cream color that softened the shadows cast on it by the chandelier's fixtures. The entire room is paneled with rich brown wood that, contrary to what the exterior indicated by its derelict state, shimmered in the chandelier's golden light. Behind the desk, a wooden staircase gently curved along the back wall. To the left and right of the desk were large wooden doors, flat and featureless except for a golden-looking vertical pull bar. Tulsa and I pressed toward the front of the gaggle, watching Charlie swagger as he walked ahead of us. Winsley meekly followed. His aura was almost purposefully hypnotic. Tulsa nudges me, and I turn my head to look at her with a quizzical frown. "He's so hot," she whispers, smiling broadly and raising an eyebrow. "I guess, if you can see past his giant-ass ego," I mutter under my breath. That ass," Tulsa sighs dreamily. I look up as we are led to the big door on the left. "This is where the ladies will stay for the next few nights. Winsley will take you to your rooms. I'll take the men." He puffs out his chest a little as the men gather around him, watching him with wide eyes. As they walk away, I hear questions about Charlie's workout routine and his lifting capacity. I couldn't care less. Winsley smiles at us kindly when Charlie leaves, visibly relaxing when the mass of boys was out of sight. "Sorry about him. Anyway, before I take you in, I want to get to know your names. to see who is still here. His voice seems deeper now that Charlie wasn't standing over him. Poor guy. Naturally, my name is the last he reads from the clipboard. Story's a funny name. Why? I don't know. My mom just liked it. I don't know where she got it from. I shrug, shifting my back on my shoulder, very ready to lay down. Elise, Hannah, Kathy, Avery, Vanessa, Lauren, Dominica, Ainsley, Tulsa, and Jessie were the other girls in the group. They all looked to be no older than 30. Well, that's probably a record. Winsley shakes his head with a smile and puts his hand on the golden bar, which begins to glow under his hand with a sky-blue haze. I don't know if anybody else notices the glowing, but I'm watching carefully. The door clicks and beeps, then Winsley pulls it open. The ceilings in this area are also tall, and dim sunlight streams in through windows close to the ceiling, though it doesn't feel as cheery as the lobby. The carpet is velvet red and short. The hallway feels like what the throat of a giant hungry monster might look like. The hall had a slight bend, so that even if they had furniture in the hall, it wouldn't lay flat against the wall. Winsley talked excitedly something about schedules and how the grounds in the back aren't as bad as the front, something about a ceremony and to avoid. Then we reached the other end of the hall, and Winsley stopped talking. His eye was drawn, like everyone's were, to yet another door, just like the one they came in. It was impossible not to notice the deep diagonal gouges in the door. The scratches reveal that the door isn't wood, as it seems. It is, in fact, some sort of metal. I step towards it and peer at the scratches carefully, gripping the strap of my bag until my knuckles turned white. My heart is pounding. What happened to the door? Tulsa grabs the top handle of my bag and slowly, gently pulls me back into the throng. I look around, bewildered. Winsley was staring at me in disbelief. I just said not to touch or get close to this door. Oh, you did? Sorry, I didn't hear you. What happened to the door? I considered the possibility that former patients at the asylum had done it. But how in the world would they cause such damage? The long vertical lines were at least 3 inches wide, and maybe, at their peak, were 10 feet upwards. Maybe somebody fell from a ladder. Winsley jerks me away from the door by my arm, a serious look on his face. We had to repair the locks, he says, looking me in the eyes. But it will be fixed later. He snaps firmly, cutting me off and hurriedly ushering everyone away from the door. I look over my shoulder at the door as I am ushered into a small bedroom. Something isn't right with this place. Well, maybe that's the obvious part. The trouble is identifying exactly what and why. Thank you for listening to part 2 of 12 of Story's End. If you liked what you heard, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Join us next time for part 3. Have a lovely evening.